I've been procrastinating to make this video. This one's all about upper control arms because a lot of people out there have their opinions, and I think that mine is probably not right, but it's worth sharing because I have, unlike some people who are pretty vocal out there on the internet, I have experience. I've run the SPC uppers. This is actually my second pair of those. I've run the Total Chaos Uniball design upper control arms. I've run the Nitros, and I've run, what was the other one? The Freedoms? Yeah, something like that, which are pretty much the Nitros. I'll get to that later. The point of this video is to talk more specifically about two brands, the Total Chaos and the SPCs. People like to shit on SPCs all over the forums, and I'm here to tell you that they actually do have a lot of value, and you know, this is why I run them. It may not be the right setup for your truck. It just depends on what you want to do. So that's really all I care to share today. Just my experience with those different brands and what's out there. Obviously, there are some people, you know, as soon as you research what upper control arms you want to run, there are a lot of guys out there who say, oh, well, for 2 inches of lift or less, you don't even need upper control arms. And I mean, yeah, that's true. You don't need them. But if you want as much caster as you can get for better handling, especially off-road, you definitely want to go with something aftermarket as opposed to OEM. The OEM ball joints are pretty strong. You know, there's a reason that they hold up so well. So that, you know, some of those guys aren't so wrong. Let's see. The main reasons for going with anything other than OEM are for strength, durability, which are kind of in the same category, or you're trying to get different alignment numbers, and that one is the primary reason for most aftermarket control arms. Once you lift and change the ride height of the vehicle, you're altering where you can align the wheel, so your caster isn't going to be very good at all if you run an OEM upper, and your camber is probably going to be off if you try to max out your caster. And a lot of guys care about camber for tire wear. I have got my SPC upper ball joint set into a position that maximizes caster, which actually makes the camber pretty bad. And I have a lot of guys come up to me at events and they'll ask, like, hey man, why is your camber so bad? And the answer is because I don't give a shit. Because my tires get chunked every time that I hit a trail, if it doesn't get sliced in half by some rock or something. So I'm not really too concerned with tire wear, but that's not really how most guys approach it. So if you're wanting to run SPCs specifically, I recommend throwing it in the B position, which is what SPC recommends. That's the maximum caster you can get without completely sacrificing your camber. My experience with the Total Chaos arms, I ran those for 9 months, and I took those off actually to service them with the intent to just service them, replace the bushings and the uniballs. But I decided to call them and, you know, I asked them a couple of questions. I had been getting terrible alignment numbers while I ran those arms, and I later found out that I also had bent spindles, which was not helping. Specifically my camber numbers, that was way thrown off because the knuckles, you know, bent backwards like that. But the caster on Total Chaos upper control arms for the 100 series landcruiser were set up on a stock truck at factory ride height. That is straight from the manufacturer. I called the owner of the company. We talked for about an hour and a half, and I mean, cool lady. She's got all sorts of cool stuff going on. But yeah, she didn't even know what an LX470 was. And at that point, I kind of realized that they didn't design these with the intent for them to be used on a lifted truck. And they certainly aren't tapped into the 100 series. That's not their community, which makes sense. A lot of the stuff that they deal with is long travel front suspension for racing, because that's what uniballs are usually used for. You want a uniball because it's stronger than a ball joint and it won't fail like a ball joint can, where a ball joint is a shoulder inside of a cup that could rip out potentially. A uniball has a spherical bearing in it that, like, I mean, you'd have to crack the control arm in half to break that sucker. I ran them for about 6 months with extreme amounts of play in the ball joint, or the uniball, excuse me. And never did they break, but the whole time they were squeaking, and everybody would just kind of, you know, look at me on the trail.
Back up. Or not.
Embarrassing, but you know, if you're gonna get your truck muddy at all, then you're gonna wear out an open spherical bearing. That's just the name of the game. Total Chaos has a 30-day return policy on their arms, and that's not so good when it's a 30-day return policy from the day that you buy it. So if it takes 2 weeks for it to get there, you may not ever get that money back from their company. And, you know, I mean, they make a good product. The welds are great. Everything's well polished and clean. But I couldn't bring myself to keep those arms knowing that I was never going to be able to get any kind of real good caster numbers out of that. Ultimately, I decided to go with SPCs. And they're not paying me to say any of this. I wish they were. That'd be great. I have to buy all my own replacement parts and all that. I wound up trading my nitros for a set of SPCs with a guy on I Hate Mud. Great experience. He had them. He was using them for a long time, and he always wanted a set of nitros, so it worked out for the two of us. But I use these because well, they have adjustable upper ball joints, so you can set your caster, and they have those, it's like a nut that slides on the top. I'll show you in a minute, but you can adjust caster and camber a fair amount without even having to deal with the cams, which is real nice. So you can max out depending on the setup that you want to run. So I've got them set up, as I mentioned, for maximum caster, which doesn't do wonders for your camber, but again, I don't really mind that, so it is what it is. The ball joints themselves are the big issue that everybody has with SPCs. They claim to have a longer lifespan than they seem to. Some guys don't have any problems with them. Some guys say that they wear out after 5,000 miles. They've redesigned the ball joints several times, I think 3. These have locking plates that allow you to rotate the position of the ball joint, which increases and decreases your caster and camber depending on where you want to ride it. So this is how that little system works. It's got a star, I think, what is that, 12 point, so that you can rotate it around the ball joint housing, and then it slides up and down like that right there. So you can do your own little home alignment and then take it to a shop to get it set up right, right in spec and all that. But yep, that's those uppers. My philosophy on these, they're completely removable with no press work involved, and that is the best benefit to me. I go through components a lot faster than other people. And having something that I could replace on a trail without a press is worth the extra money or headache of having to replace these. Even if I have to replace them twice as often as a normal standard ball joint, I'll still take this, because if I had a catastrophic failure of some kind, I could just grab a spare, throw it in the truck, and I'm good to go. Whereas, you know, if you've got a ball joint that comes out of the socket or something, or it just starts to wear and creak and give you all kinds of hell on a trail, you're not going to be able to press that out unless you've got a whole ball joint kit. So I don't know, that's my philosophy. Saves me a lot of time, and the ball joints are just as expensive as anything else out there, so I'm not that worried about it. But that brings me to the last point, and I'll show you how exactly these are set up on my truck, and how the reasons that I like them. All right, with the SPCs, they've got this square shaped channel on the bottom so that you can lock the ball joint in and then slide it to the camber position that you want. There's a small washer in there that comes from SPC, and that's where I started having issues, because all of a sudden I would hit a bump and boom, the whole thing would move like that, and my camber would be way off. So this thing could slide, which is why I made these lockout plates. So this is made of aluminum, so that the threads of the ball joint right here are not damaged. Not that it would even matter, because you can see that the threads of the nut never even go below about halfway anyway. But this lockout plate sits right over top like this and prevents the ball joint from moving. And you can run it in the full cambered in or the full cambered out position. And then I'm also selling these with a hole right in the center, so that you could lock it out at the center position if you needed to do that. So 3 options to choose from with these lockout plates. I'm going to go ahead and set this up and bolt everything back in position so that you can see what it looks like. I've had some guys criticize me with these adjustable camber washers and whatnot. This thing, because they were like, well, you know, the specification says to torque it to 175 foot-pounds, but have you tried going up any higher? And the answer is yes. I used to torque these to 300 foot-pounds, and they would still move on me. This note right here says to torque these up to 200 foot-pounds, so it seems like they've probably had some feedback in this regard. I'm kind of curious why they haven't come up with this themselves. For being a pretty reputable brand, this does not seem like that complicated of an idea to me. But I don't know. What do I know, you know? At full droop, this is what the camera's looking like. So, not too hot. Oh yeah. But she sure handles well, being a piece of shit and all.
Back up. Or not. Back up in passenger.